Good morning, everybody. It is so good to see small group, but this will be fun. Let's see, we're getting filmed right now, so hopefully I'll cut that part out. I guess I need to stay in the middle. Okay, so welcome to our session on exploring majors. We might have a couple more people trickle in. I know we're getting started right on the dot, so if we have some more people trickle in, we'll just welcome them. But we're really glad that you decided to join us this morning, and we hope that this is going to be a really helpful session for you. My name is Leah Smith. I am one of the advisors in University Advisement. I am working with every single one of the undecided students this summer, so you may end up meeting with me if you haven't already at some point this summer. And then I'll let my colleague introduce himself.
Hi. Thanks again for joining us. My name is Dr. Bob Ship. I am the Director of University Advisement, and that's me.
AKA my boss. So hopefully I do a pretty good job here today. Okay, so just to give you an idea of what we're going to be covering over the next 30 minutes or so, 30 to 45 minutes, we'll talk about what it means to be an exploratory student, what we mean by calling or vocation. We're going to answer the burning question that I'm sure a lot of y'all have. Can you graduate on time? Hello, welcome. And we'll talk about what University Advisement does to help students who are on this journey of exploring their major and career options. And then we'll end with a lot of time for questions, if you have those questions. So before we get started into the meat of our conversation today, is anyone brave enough to share what they wanted to do when they were 5 years old? So if someone asked you, what do you want to be when you grow up? What would you have said? 5, 6, 7. Anybody?
Okay.
Yeah, Abby?
I think I want to do like ice cream scooping. I don't know.
That is a brilliant career.
Yeah.
For a 5-year-old, that is very strategic.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Anyone else want to share what they wanted to do as a 5-year-old? No? Grace, you have something on your mind? It doesn't need to be 5. It could be like 2 or 3, 6 or 7.
I'm a bakery.
Again, very strategic. You guys, making big plans for good food. I appreciate that a lot. So one of the things that we find interesting in life is that as 5-year-olds or 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, there's a lot of clarity in what you want to do. I want to be an ice cream scooper. Personally, I wanted to be a bagger at a grocery store. I thought that would be so much fun. And that clarity tends to go away after a little while. Life gets a little bit more complicated. And I think it's pretty safe to say that at this point you're probably wondering or thinking, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. Parents, you might also be thinking, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. We like to joke about this a lot. We don't know what we want to do when we grow up either. But we do firmly believe that there are ways to gain clarity about this, and that the process does not need to be hard or painful. In fact, this is not a problem that needs to be solved. Instead, this is an adventure and a journey that we get to go on together. So that's what we're going to cover today.
So as she said, this is going to be an adventure. This is going to be your journey. Where we start our journeys, each of us, is going to be in a little bit different spot. For some of us, that spot is to say, you know what, I'm undecided. That's the exploratory official major at Baylor University, Bachelor of Arts undecided or Bachelor of Science undecided. And that's okay. That's probably a good place to be, because then you can look at the different things and you can meet us officially. When you're meeting with advisors like us, you'll have an advisor based on your major and your program. For those who are declared as undecided, you're going to start your journey with us in University Advisement, where we specialize in exploration. There are others, though, that start their journey in other places. They're in those other sessions right now going, yep, I'm a biology major. Yep, I'm a business major. Yep, I know what I'm going to do. The fact is, though, that almost, well, depending upon which studies that you look at, 50 to 80% of the freshmen that are going to start in the fall will change their major at least once during that first year. At least once. Some twice, some 3 times. I actually had a young lady who, before we even started the session in the fall, I worked with her in June. She changed her major 3 times before August was over. But that's okay though. We all start our journey in a different place. We all are a little bit uncertain. One of the things that really pressures us is the fact that we're looking at this as if, oh my gosh, I'm planning the rest of my life. And if I did that at 18, I would still be probably working on aircraft right now. I was really tired and I loved it at that time, but my life took me different places, and your life will as well. When you're looking at that, don't put that type of pressure on, I would ask you not to do. Think of it as this is the beginning of a journey. And as I mentioned, some of us are going to start as undecided, some of us are going to be starting in other majors, but really as an explorer, you're going to start in different degrees of exploration. Some of us really do know what we want to do, but they may change, they may be looking to explore just a little bit. And so as you look at that whole array of where we can start, the first ones that I would put forward are those that are the sightseers. I know where I'm going. I'm a business major. My roommate talked about this other thing called data sciences. What is that? Let's go over and look at this for a second. 15 minutes, perhaps, something like that. The journey is very short, perhaps, for the sightseers because they'll say, yeah, that's not what I want. Back to what I wanted. That's fine. Some of us are going to take very, very short discussions. Look at the first thing.
Yeah, the shoes are all
124.
Okay.
Yeah. So some of us are going to be sightseers. They're going to go over and they're going to explore for a very short period of time, perhaps, and see what's out there, and then back on the track. I kind of liken it to Chevy Chase when he comes up to the edge of the Grand Canyon. Oh, look, Grand Canyon. Okay, let's go. Off we go. Right? Sorry, bad references. Others will kind of know where they want to go as well. They just don't want to pull that trigger and say, yep, that's me, because what if I make the wrong decision? What happens if I don't pick the right one right now? What if that's not what I'm supposed to do for the rest of my life? Again, don't worry about the rest of your life. Let's look at where you are in your journey right now. These are what I call the hesitant. I had a young man who was with me for 3.5 years as undecided. For 2.5 of those years, we planned for him to be a political science major. He knew he was going to be a political science major, but what if I wanted to be an entrepreneur? I just don't know if I want to do that. Finally, in his last semester, I told him, come on, open up your computer, Tim. I've got to get you to a major so you can graduate in May, because it's February. Come on, we got to do this. And so he did. He graduated, and he's off, and he's doing entrepreneurial type stuff as well. He just didn't want to make that commitment, perhaps. Part of that is just making the decision, and part of it is knowing where you want to go. Some people, they know where they want to go, but there's so many ways to get there. Anybody in here who's pre-med? You know they want to be pre-med, pre-dental, pre-law, marketing. So many ways to get there. How do you get from here to Dallas? One of our advisors used to ask that. How do you get from here to Dallas? I-35. That's the fastest way, right? Why can't I go through? Whitney and go kind of the back roads? I can actually go out towards Hyco, which is a little town. It goes out towards 281, way out west, and then you kind of come back because there's some really cool shops over there. It's going to take me a little longer, perhaps. But that's a way of going about it. But I know that the fastest way is from here to there on I-35, maybe. Depending upon construction, I'll give you that. That may be the way that you want to go. What ways can you get from here to a marketing career? Can I be a political science major and work as the national advertising representative for Grubhub? Ask my daughter, she did it. She's also been She's been a regional marketing representative for Petco. She's done marketing for H-E-B, which is a grocery store here in Texas. She's done an engineering firm. She was a political science major. It's just, how do I get there? And God opened up those certain paths for her to get to that point right after she graduated. And she goes, Dad, I can sell a candidate, which is what she was studying. I can sell a hamburger for Whataburger. I can sell pet food. I can sell groceries, or I can sell my skills for marketing in a large corporation. There's a lot of ways to get it. So we'll help you to discern how to get to that point. There are also those that say, yep, I know which way I'm going, and then they get in there and go, whew, I didn't know I didn't have that kind of talent, because I always thought I had this real love for business, for example. Or better yet, a lot of people get into the pre-med track, and one of our coworkers actually, she got into the pre-med track and she was doing really well. 3.5, 3.7 GPA. In her sophomore year, she goes, I really don't like biology. I really don't. She graduated with a double major in English and psychology with a Spanish minor. So she found out and she recalculated. Some people have to be forcibly recalculating, they get removed from the majors. But others, they're exploring and they're going, wait a minute, this isn't right. We can recalculate. And that's where we can help step in as well. And the last ones are the really fun challenges, is the true explorers. And that's probably a lot of people in this room. I am really good at everything. I enjoy everything. And there are 150 majors. Which one do I want? I like them all. I'll take one of each, please. And that's kind of fun to work through those that are in that particular type of starting point. Is I know what I like, and I know all those different things. So let's find that right fit major for you, or pairings, or triples. So as you're working through there, those are kind of fun. They're also the ones that are like my grandsons. I went to my daughter's house and I asked him, so how are things going? I don't know. He's 12. You're getting into those teenage years. So what you been doing at school? I don't know. Did you have any fun? I don't know. Were you there? I don't know. What? I don't know. The knows. There are those people who just, they're not as motivated perhaps as going through that like my grandson, but that's a rarity, really. What we're excited about is being able to actually find what they are excited about. Talk to them about computer coding. The kid's going to be a hacker. He's going to be on the top 10 and all of those stuff. No, he's really good at doing computer codes. Get him into that type of a mode, and he's excited. And that's where I find a lot of excitement with working with him, too, is to find what that path is for that exploring person that's not real sure, and they have to be shown this is where you're excited. So different places we're going to start, different things that we're going to be interested in, and one of the things that really underlines all of this stuff is the fact that what we get to do with each of these, wherever they start, is to find out, what did God make you to do? What is it that you were really born to do? And that sounds like a really deep theological and philosophical question, but we'll get to the root of that, and actually that's where I'll turn it over.
So what do we mean by calling? In other words, what is it that God has designed you uniquely to do? So as Baylor is an unapologetically Christian institution, it only makes sense that we look at everything through the lens of Scripture and through the lens of who we know God to be. And so in looking at your vocation and your career, your major, we have to start by asking first this question, what are you called to do? So we believe, and I think that theologians and biblical scholars would agree that our primary calling is to love God, to love others as we love ourselves. So that's everyone's primary calling. And that's a real big, broad answer to this question. And I know that doesn't tell you what to major in. It doesn't tell me what to major in either. So what we need to do then is dig down a little bit deeper into what we would call our secondary callings that are designed for us. So I feel like almost every high school graduate's favorite verse is Jeremiah 29:11, which says, I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans for good and not for evil, plans to give you a future and a hope. So when we talk about calling, we have to start from this place of believing that, number one, God has a plan for us, that you guys are not destined to wander around forever and ever and ever and never land on that plan for you, but there is a plan for you. And that the plan is good, because God is good and because He loves you. So again, you're not destined to wander around, find a calling, and then be like, ooh, I would not have picked this, or I do not like this. I don't understand why a good God would have this for me. So we have to start from that place. So Bob is talking about all the different places that we start on this journey of exploring majors. Yes, everybody's coming at it from a different location, but we have to get this right first. We have to understand that each of us is called to do something specific by God who loves us and has good plans for us. So that makes me think of Psalm 139, where it says, God knit us together in our mother's womb. I highly doubt that this is the imagery that David had when he wrote this song, but I think of God knitting a blanket. I don't even know if people knit back then, but I think about God knitting a blanket. And it's this beautiful blanket with all of these colors, different strands of thread and all these different colors. And each of those colors represents your strengths, your weaknesses, your interests, your dislikes, your family background, your cultural heritage, all of those things uniquely blended in to make you who you are. And the process of discerning your calling, which then leads to your major, is learning how to recognize those different strands of thread and those different colors that are woven together, recognize those, and listen or pay attention to what those things are telling you about yourself. In other words, about what God is leading you to do. So there is a book written by a man named Parker Palmer. It's like the gold standard in understanding calling and vocation. It's called Let Your Life Speak, which is where we get this phrase. Our goal is to help students learn how to listen to what their life is saying. We'll talk about this more in a few minutes, but we teach a course for students who are exploring their major options. And we use a really great book called Designing Your Life. And they come at it from a little bit more of a secular perspective. I don't know if they're believers or not, they might be. But they come at it from a more secular perspective of using design thinking, applying design thinking to planning out your life. But all of these people would say one of the primary goals that we have, you as students, one of your primary pieces of homework is to learn how to pay attention to yourself and pay attention to your life and what it's telling you. So pay attention to those things that you like that other people don't. I think one of the things that's really interesting about us, like just humans in general, is that the things that we like, we assume that everybody likes these things. Like ask Bob about history. Surely everybody likes history as much as Bob likes history. Or talk to me about cats. Surely everyone likes cats. Why would people not like cats? Well, that actually is not, number one, it's not accurate and it's not helpful because that's unique. Bob's love of history is unique to him. My love of cats is unique to me. And yes, there's going to be some similarities, like Bob actually likes cats too. And I'm sure there are people here who like history as well. So there are similarities that we have, but this is also something really important to pay attention to and to understand, start to default to, maybe this is not everybody's experience. Maybe this is unique to me. And if it is, what does this say about my life moving forward? All right, take it away, Bob.
Sure.
So as you're doing this and you're stopping, you're listening to what your life is telling you, one of the things that's probably in the back of each of your mind is, yes, it's going to take time, but how much time? I don't have a lot of time. I've got 4 years. The clock is ticking, right? You do have time. Exploration, though, is going to be a journey. That journey may be, as we said, short, or it may be a little bit longer, but it's going to take a little bit of time. Just kind of think through, what is it that my life is telling me, and how do I do this, and what if I get a little bit further along here, and how much time is it going to take me? Oh, gosh. Rest assured that most of the degrees and majors here at Baylor University do have a little bit of time. For example, in the Bachelor of Arts or the Bachelor of Science degree program, there's a core curriculum that is required. It's 50 hours. You have a major that goes with that. That's another 30, just so I can keep the math straight. Remember, I'm a history major, not a math major. So that's 80 hours, right? You have to have 124 hours to graduate. That leaves you 44 hours of room. Others don't. The Bachelor of Business Administration, for example, they request that you declare it before you get to the 45th hour here at Baylor. So that gives you 3 semesters. Some are a little bit tighter than that, but there is always room to really start looking and exploring, because there are classes that go between them. So for example, Religion 1310, everybody gets to do that. Political Science 1387, everybody gets to do that. So there's some classes that your advisors are going to help with. So most degrees do have some room to explore. So you do have that time. We also have some tools that will help you as you start your journey, that will help you to see how long is this discernment, or if I wait a little bit longer, how long is this major going to take me to graduate? There's something that's really cool. It's a degree audit, and it takes the requirements for a degree, and it takes the stuff that you've already done, and it puts it all in one document. The really cool part of the tool is that there's also a planning function that is Bob-proof. Yep, I can't even screw this one up. So you take that degree audit, and there's another place over here that has all of your semesters listed out. You drag it and drop it. And if you don't have the prerequisite, it'll say you don't have the prerequisite. So you take it back out of there and you put the prerequisite in. So you can work through this and see, okay, so if I do this, how long is it going to take me? And you've got somebody there that's going to help you along with that. And that's where we step in with this.
So how do we do this? Number one, we have an event called the Majors Fair, and it is coming up in October, towards the end of October. So put that at least on your mental calendar for later in the semester. The Majors Fair is an opportunity for professors or representatives from departments all over campus to gather in one room. So if you have ever wanted to ask an expert, what exactly does apparel merchandising entail? Or what kinds of students are really successful in exercise physiology? This would be your opportunity to talk to faculty from all over campus. They want to talk to you anyway, so even if it's not during the Majors Fair, if you want to reach out to these faculty members, you are welcome to do so. But having them all in one space, they're for the purpose of talking to you about the majors that they represent, it is a prime opportunity to get information about anything that you're considering within, hopefully, anything. Also, there's a lot of students who show up too, so you don't have to do it alone. You can bring your friends. There's going to be a lot of activity and movement. It's exciting, and just a really good opportunity to learn a lot in a short amount of time. We also teach a course every semester. It is, in particular in the fall, it's a new student experience course. So it's first and foremost a welcome to Baylor, welcome to college, here's what you need to know to be a successful college student. But the main thrust of the course that we teach is major exploration. So we'll spend a lot of time talking about calling a vocation from more of a theoretical perspective. So some of what we touched on earlier, we're going to really dig deep into that. We're going to read that book or use that book that I was talking about, the Designing Your Life book. And then we get real practical into what resources are there available at Baylor and in the world in general, and then how do you make the most of those resources to research your options and then make a decision. I like to brag a little bit and say, and I'm sure any of us who taught the class could probably brag about this as well. It's not just me, it's the course. But I had 21 students in the course fall 2021, and I'd say about 18 of them, we ended the semester, they had either declared a major or they knew what major they were going to declare. So I feel really good about that stat. I think that was a successful semester. And the reason it's successful is because they were willing to put in the work and the effort and the thought into it. So it's not like it's some rigorous activity. Anybody could do this. But having the course context gives students some extra motivation and accountability. There's nothing like giving students a grade to do something. And that really helps them stay engaged in the process, get some guidance in the process as they go along. And I think one of the biggest benefits of this course is that they're doing it with other students who are in the same boat. And we have a good number of students who are coming in undecided, like as Bob was saying, like listed as undecided this semester, but it's still a small percentage when you look at it in light of the entire incoming class. It's still a relatively small number. And what that means is that it can feel a little bit lonely if you're coming in undecided in terms of your major. So to be in a class with students who are in the same place, I've heard a lot of feedback from students that that was a really encouraging, life-giving experience for them. Not every student can take this course, although I will say, if you are undecided and if you meet with me, you will be taking that course. I do not mess around with that course, so you will be taking that one. But not every student can take this one, because as Bob was saying, there's some students who are declared as business majors right now, and they're going to find out in October that maybe they don't want to be a business major. And so we do offer workshops as well that we try to get some of the highlights of the class into a shorter workshop format, so we can still communicate a lot of the same information and encouragement to students, give them the tools that they need, and then send them on their way. So it's not the same kind of consistent meeting throughout the semester, but it still is helpful for them. And primary though, we think the most helpful thing is to work with your academic advisor and University Advisement. So you meet with them at least twice in the fall to have an individual, personal, one-on-one conversation about who you are, what your interests are, and then how we can make some good decisions leading into the spring semester. If you have met with me or if you're going to meet with me at some point this summer, we'll start that conversation this summer. We can't go into great depth, but I'm still going to ask you what your interests are, the things that you definitely don't like, because sometimes that's a lot easier to identify than what you do like, and that still gives me a lot of good information. So we start that process in the summer. One of my very favorite words in the whole English language is the word strategic. And I feel like yes, as Bob was saying, as we've been saying, it's a journey and a process and it takes time, but it does not mean that you're starting the journey without a map and you're starting the journey without being really strategic. And there are some ways to approach this that we need to start implementing now that are going to set you up to be in a really good spot when you do declare your major. So know that our heart for you guys and the way we're approaching this is to start from that place of how can we set you up the very best so that when you do decide, number one, you're going to feel supported as you're making a decision, but then when you do decide, you're set up really well to start on that major and move forward effectively and efficiently and graduate and have a great life. Okay, our goal is to empower students. So while we help you, this is your journey and you are the boss of this journey. So please know that no matter what any of us tell you, you can always disagree with us. You can ask questions. If you don't like something, you can say that. You're the captain of your ship. So we support you and want to empower you to do your research, do your soul searching, pray about it, talk to your parents about it. I think that's a super helpful thing to do because they know you better than pretty much anyone else does. So they can be really helpful, etc., etc. Alrighty. Thank you again for being here. We would love to take any questions that you have. If you have more individual questions you want to talk to us personally about, we're going to hang out up here as well. Yes, sir.
Is it usually like really hot in Texas?
Well,
Welcome to the sun.
it's usually not quite this hot in June. It's a bit hotter than it usually is this early, right, Texans? But it is hot. You're from Oregon? Yeah.
So, I have a question. I don't know, you could correct me, but I think she is actually a declared business major. Is there value in declaring undecided, or, right, does it matter?
Yes and no. There is value in it, I think, because you would be meeting with a person who is a specialist in exploratory processes at least twice, like Lee and I have mentioned. As a business major, you'll see your academic advisor, and they'll advise you for the business program. So in the first semester, you're going to take 1101 and 1201 and this and this and this, and off you go. You always have the opportunity to stop in, send us an email, hey, I need to stop in and ask some questions, do the informal version of exploring, but being an undecided student then connects you directly to an advisor who is a specialist in exploring majors and can help you through that journey for at least the first semester, if not the first year and a half, something like that. I'm not sure if that completely answered your question. I'm a little bit biased because I like to have people exploring with us, but you can do it without changing your major to undecided, but it will probably be a little bit more beneficial if you're really exploring. You can have all of that. Any questions, concerns? Yeah.
You kind of discussed like there's a time period, right? If we don't find our major by then, is it too late?
Not necessarily, no. There's always the question of when do you want to graduate? If you want to do it in 4 years, then there are opportunities that you may be able to go a little bit further into your academic journey before, especially if you know that I'm kind of going into this direction. I've already, as Leah said, sometimes it's best to know what don't you like. Do you want art? Do you want computer science? Do you want engineering? Do you want education? Do you want business? Do you want? And if you can eliminate some of that other stuff, then we know where you want to go. And then we can give you more opportunities of, okay, so by this time you really want to know what you want to do. So it's really flowing. But some people will, I'll give you, this is Bob Ship's opinion and probably may not reflect some of the other things, but I'd rather that you find a major, and this is where I'm going to get shot by the parents in here. I'd rather you find a major and find your path and your calling, and maybe take another year or so, than to get into something and it's like, I have a friend who graduated, she graduated in 4 years, she's a chemistry major, and she goes, that sucked. The whole 4 years just sucked. Completely. She got in the Air Force after that, and she did 4 years in the Air Force and did absolutely nothing with chemistry, and she was refusing to do anything with chemistry, so that wasn't the way she was going. She was very smart, she did it, but that's what we would not like you to do. We would like you to find that path to lead you to what you're supposed to be doing. So. And that's where you're going to find that you're going to be more energized, you're really going to find your focus. That's going to be the place. And that may be, it may be like my daughter. My oldest daughter took a 6-year plan and a 4-year degree. She ended up with psychology, but it took her 6 years. The first 2 years were in education, and she switched over. So, and she found what she really likes to do now. So, does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Well, have a great rest of your day. Have a good rest of orientation. And line camp if y'all are staying. Oh yeah, and we have contact information. Did you want to say that? Okay. So if you do have any questions for us at all, ever, you can reach us at this email address, university_advisement@baylor.edu, and this is our phone number. Please feel free to reach out, whatever questions you have, and we'd love to talk to you about. Okay, now have a great rest of orientation.